Yeah, welcome to all of you to this presentation titled A Model Involving Different Stakeholders, which my colleague Marcel Fierz and myself have prepared for this session. Before I will start with our presentation, I would like to introduce myself briefly. My name is Sascha Neumann. I'm currently working as Professor of Educational Research with special emphasis on social work, childhood studies, and early childhood education at the University of Tübingen in Germany. During the last 2 years, I also worked as professor at the University of Luxembourg and at the University of Fribourg in Switzerland. Besides my various research activities, I'm as well a member of the expert commission of the Qualikita label for childcare centers in Switzerland. And this Qualikita label is also the model my colleague Marcel Fierz and me would like to present to you today. With this videocast, we want to address the question of how to set up a common commitment to high quality in early childhood education and care in a national context such as Switzerland, where quality in early childhood education really is not very much regulated on a political level. This means in detail that although we find regulations on the federal and even the cantonal level in Switzerland, these regulations more refer to the structural dimension of quality, but not so much to what we know as the development of the quality of processes. In order to address the question of how to create commitment to high quality, we would like to refer to the so-called Qualikita standard, which has been established in Switzerland, and its underlying approach to involve different stakeholders in the process of creating and constantly evaluating the standard. Before this process will be described more in detail by Marcel later on, I first would like to give a more theoretical introduction into what it means to rely on standards when it comes to the development of quality in early childhood education. So I first would like to start with a more theoretical reflection on the inner logic of the Qualikita approach, which is currently widely used in Switzerland. First of all, we have to acknowledge that the standards approach to quality is well established, not only in early childhood education, but also in education in general. And this approach also belongs to the most widespread concepts of defining, assessing, and not least realizing high quality of education in practice. However, the approach was not invented in the sector of education, but first of all in the area of industrial production, where this approach was aiming at selecting defective items by evaluating them against a set of attainable criteria defined by a manufacturer. Quality is then ascribed to such items which fulfill these criteria, and finally means then conformance to, first of all, minimal standards. Taking this into account means that the standard of quality not automatically was aiming at producing the highest possible quality, but just to assure a minimal level of quality which not should be missed. However, this is not the only way to deal with standards, because the standards approach implies that quality is raised if high standards are established and implemented. This is also the more common understanding of the standards-based approach of quality development in education. So the standards approach can also be linked to the continuous enhancement of quality. Although the strong dependency, let's say, between the level of standard definition and the level of quality achievement in the end, quality achievement of a product or an outcome in the end, has often been used as an argument against standards. This means standards alone do not guarantee quality by themselves because it depends on how well they are defined. This was the classical argument against standards. Although there is such an argument against standards, there is one strength of the approach to quality via standards which cannot be ignored when it comes to the question of how to create a common understanding of quality. This is because this approach considers standards and quality as inextricably linked to each other. In other words, ensuring commitment to standards is the core problem of the standards approach, as otherwise quality could not be expected or achieved. So commitment to standards is not an end in itself, but is a means to create the liability of educational outcomes. And liability is what is wanted if different services should be comparable to each other in the sense that quality is as good as possible. In the end, we can say that liability is not least also a question of equal educational opportunities for children. Assuming that the standards approach is an effective way or an effective mechanism to create commitment and liability is not yet an answer to the question of how standards and criteria linked to the standard should be defined. This is especially a challenge when it comes to early childhood education, where different stakeholders, children, parents, caregivers, providers, political actors with particular needs and interests and various points of view on early childhood education come together and are involved. Taking this into account means that there are multiple perspectives on quality, as well as different and even also controversial ideas about what it means that early childhood education services should be as good as possible. As a shared imagination of quality among the stakeholders is not guaranteed by just setting up a standard alone, there is a process needed in order to define a common understanding which the standard can be based on in the end. How such a process can work is the issue Marcel will now address with the example of Qualikita.
So thank you, Sascha Neumann. My name is Marcel Fierz. Today I'm the program manager of Qualikita. Qualikita is a quality standard and a quality label for Swiss daycare centers, which was launched 2013. As Professor Dr. Neumann pointed out, a common understanding about quality is essential to achieve good quality for the well-being of children. But how do you create this common understanding? In the following, I would like to highlight the process Qualikita has chosen. In order to achieve a high quality, all actors have to commit a shared quality understanding. For this reason, Qualikita has relied on a transparent process of elaboration and included scientific findings in the development. In the following, I will shortly present the most important steps in this process. First, scientific base. Qualikita considered it to be essential for the acceptance that the quality standard is based also on scientific knowledge and the state-of-the-art of research. For this purpose, a pedagogical model was developed on the base of scientific work together with scientists. This model takes into account all relevant perspectives for a positive development of children. The logical consequence was that the model places the child in the center, surrounded by 4 pedagogical and 4 operational areas. All these aspects and the interaction between them have a positive impact on children's development. The 8 so-called quality development areas are activities to facilitate development and learning, relationship and interaction, inclusion and participation, collaborative partnerships with families, safety, health and equipment, staff and qualification, leadership and management, curriculum, policies and procedures. Second, inclusion of the relevant actors and documents. In order to create a common understanding, various and especially relevant actors must be involved. With regard to Qualikita, the aim was to promote quality development in the daycare centers for the well-being of children and their development. The actors involved from science, administration and practice were able to participate in the development, the testing and the evaluation of the standard. These different perspectives contribute significantly to the fact that the Qualikita standard contributes to quality development in daycare centers. Third, focus on continuous enhancement of quality. As Sascha Neumann mentioned before, the standard itself is one thing, but to really achieve a high quality, it is important to focus on continuous enhancement of quality. Knowing this, Qualikita has chosen this more processual approach, and so the standard supports daycare centers to establish continuous quality development processes. It is therefore not a matter of fulfilling characteristics in a checklist, but rather to develop and implement a quality development process. Today, the Qualikita standard is known by 80% of the daycare centers in Switzerland, and over 65% indicated that Qualikita promotes quality awareness, as a survey showed. We also know that to successfully introduce a standard in a daycare centers, which requires the implementation of a quality development process, from the point of view of Qualikita, there are 3 central elements needed. First, common understanding of quality. Good quality can only be achieved if the aim is defined. It is therefore necessary to know the aim of the process and to have a common and shared understanding of quality. Second, involving the team. A quality development process must be carried out by the whole team, and everyone must be able to get involved and contribute. Third, use transparent standards and continuous processes. Continuous processes based on a transparent standard are needed to achieve a quality standard with the whole team. In order to achieve a high quality for the benefit of children and their development, a broad acceptance of the standard by all actors, a commitment by all of them to implement it, and a lot of work is needed. But it is worth, because the children benefit from it. So thank you for your attention, and please do not hesitate to contact us whenever you want. More information you can also find by checking out our websites.